Whenever you hear a global leader talk about fearing a nation's talent, it should immediately make you stop and think. Recently, when Donald Trump warned companies like Google and Microsoft about Indians, it wasn't just politics. It was a reflection of something much bigger. It was recognition of a rising force, a growing dominance of Indian talent in the global economy. And the truth is, what some may call fear is actually respect in disguise. When we begin to observe the transformation of the modern world, one thing becomes clear very quickly. Talent and skill are no longer confined by borders. They travel across nations, across industries, and across digital landscapes that connect billions of people every single day. The rise of Indian talent in global technology is not a random event, nor is it a sudden surprise. It is the result of a long process of preparation, education, and persistence. If you look carefully, what some call fear is actually recognition of a growing influence that is reshaping the very foundation of global competition. When leaders speak of this, they are not addressing something small, they are pointing to a wave of progress that is impossible to ignore. For years, many countries dominated technology because they controlled resources, infrastructure, and capital. But then something shifted. Nations that invested deeply in education and hard skills began producing a generation that could compete not through wealth, but through knowledge and discipline. India is a prime example of this shift. Walk into the offices of the most powerful technology companies in the world, and you will see the fingerprints of Indian professionals everywhere. They are engineers, designers, analysts, and innovators. They are not simply filling positions, they are shaping direction, leading projects, and guiding companies into the future. This did not happen in silence. It is the direct outcome of decades of persistence, families prioritizing education above all else, and individuals committing to mastering highly competitive fields. The most striking example is leadership at the very top. Today, the CEOs of companies like Google, Microsoft, and Adobe were born and educated in India before stepping into the global stage. This is not coincidence. It is the accumulation of values instilled from childhood, the ability to adapt, and the hunger to rise beyond limitations. When someone as powerful as a former president points out this growing presence, it is not a warning about nationality, it is an acknowledgement of extraordinary competence. It is recognition that the workforce of tomorrow is no longer restricted to one region, but is being influenced by the dedication of people who refuse to accept mediocrity. Every time we hear about fear in this context, we must ask ourselves a deeper question: why does competence create fear in others? The answer is simple but profound. People do not fear weakness, they fear strength. They fear someone who has mastered skills to such a level that their presence changes the balance of power. Think about it. If you walk into a room and you know you are the most prepared, the most disciplined, the most skilled person there, the atmosphere changes. People look at you differently. They recognize something within you that cannot be dismissed. This is what has happened on a global scale. Indian professionals have worked so hard, refined their abilities so consistently that even the most established powers cannot ignore their rise. Competence is always respected, but it also stirs unease among those who rely on maintaining control. Imagine building your entire career in a comfortable system where competition is predictable, and suddenly new players enter the field who are faster, sharper, and hungrier for success. It shakes the foundation of security. This is not about nationality. It is about the psychology of excellence. Whenever a person or a group becomes so capable that they threaten the comfort of others, fear is the natural reaction. But beneath that fear lies respect, and beneath that respect lies opportunity. What makes this rise even more interesting is that it was not achieved through shortcuts. It was achieved through long hours of practice, through parents pushing their children to excel in mathematics and science, through individuals sacrificing comfort to gain knowledge. In many ways, the journey of Indian professionals reflects one of the oldest success principles known to humanity. The more effort you put into developing your skills, the more valuable you become to the marketplace. And the more valuable you become, the more you stand out in any crowd. This is not just true for technology, it is true for every career, every business, and every life path. Now ask yourself, what is the lesson here? The lesson is that the marketplace does not care where you come from. It does not care about your background, your family history, or your starting point. What it cares about is what you bring to the table. If you bring competence, if you bring solutions, if you bring leadership, the world will make space for you. This is why competence creates fear, because it disrupts old structures. It shows that anyone, anywhere with the right preparation can rise and influence the future. When we examine this closely, we also see a message of empowerment. The rise of Indians in global technology is not a story meant to intimidate. It is a story meant to inspire. It shows what is possible when individuals commit themselves to growth, when they refuse to settle for average, and when they treat education not as a burden, but as a gateway. It reminds us that the person who invests daily in their improvement will eventually reach a level where they are not ignored but noticed, not avoided but acknowledged, and not underestimated but respected, and yet with recognition comes resistance. Those who have held power for long periods are always cautious when new talent emerges. They see it as competition, sometimes as a threat, but always as something that cannot be brushed aside. This is why we hear warnings. This is why we see attempts to slow down or regulate the influence of rising talent. But history teaches us a timeless truth. You cannot stop excellence. You cannot silence competence. Once people have trained themselves to such a level of mastery, they will continue to rise no matter what obstacles are placed in their way. Behind every remarkable achievement, whether in business, science, or personal growth, there is always one common denominator that quietly drives success forward, and that is discipline. Without discipline, talent is wasted, opportunities slip through the cracks, and potential remains unfulfilled. When we look at the rise of Indian professionals across the world stage, one truth becomes obvious. Their success is not only a result of intelligence or technical ability, it is the discipline to work harder, study longer, and stay focused when distractions pull others away from their goals. Discipline transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Think of discipline as the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Many people dream, many people talk about success, but only those who develop the self-control to do the work each day actually see results. Indian professionals built reputations around this principle. In classrooms, they studied long hours, often competing in environments where opportunities were scarce and only the best were rewarded. They learned to wake up earlier, read more, practice harder, and persist longer than their peers. That commitment to consistent improvement is what placed them at the front of some of the most competitive industries in the world. Education, in this context, became more than just a process of learning facts. It became a symbol of determination. Families prioritized study, parents sacrificed, children accepted challenges, and entire communities rallied around the idea that education was the way forward. This created generations of individuals who not only valued knowledge, but also developed the discipline to acquire it regardless of difficulty. That lesson applies universally. The person who commits to continuous learning, even when it is uncomfortable, even when others are relaxing, gains an edge that compounds over time. That edge eventually becomes so sharp that it cuts through any obstacle standing in the way. Consider how this plays out in everyday life. Two individuals start at the same point. One chooses to put in an extra hour each day to learn, to build skills, to refine abilities. The other chooses comfort, entertainment, and distraction. At first, the difference is invisible. After a year, the gap begins to show. After 5 years, the disciplined individual is miles ahead, and the other wonders why opportunities are passing by. This is the invisible power of discipline and education. They create separation over time, a separation so wide that it becomes impossible to ignore. What we learn from this is that greatness is not about occasional bursts of effort. It is about sustained action. The most successful people in any field are not necessarily the most gifted, they are the most disciplined. They practice when others rest. They read when others are distracted. They prepare when others waste time. This level of discipline is what sets apart those who lead from those who follow. And when combined with education, it creates an unstoppable force that allows individuals to compete on a global stage regardless of where they started. Now, let us step into the broader reality that shapes our world today. The digital economy has changed everything. Once upon a time, opportunity was dictated by location. If you lived in the right city or the right country, doors opened for you. If you were born somewhere else, the path was far more difficult. But technology has rewritten this rule. The internet, digital platforms, and virtual collaboration have erased borders in a way we have never seen before in history. Today, a software developer in Bangalore can compete directly with a developer in Silicon Valley. A designer in Hyderabad can create work that is valued in New York. A consultant in Mumbai can offer expertise to companies in London. Geography is no longer a wall, it has become irrelevant. This new landscape has created opportunities that were unimaginable only a few decades ago. Anyone with a laptop, an internet connection, and the right skills can access the global marketplace. Work is no longer limited by physical proximity, it is dictated by competence and value creation. This is why the rise of Indian professionals has become so significant. They prepared themselves with discipline and education at the exact moment when the world opened its doors to global talent. It is like a perfect alignment of preparation and opportunity. But here is the key insight. This same opportunity exists for everyone everywhere. The marketplace does not ask where you come from, it asks what you can do. It does not ask about your past, it asks what value you bring today. This is the beauty of globalization and technology. It rewards those who are prepared, and it ignores those who are not. If you are willing to build skills, master your craft, and discipline yourself to continuous growth, you can step into this global arena and compete with the best. The important thing to understand is that the digital economy does not play favorites. It is brutally fair. It rewards excellence, punishes mediocrity, and does not care about excuses. If you cannot perform, someone else somewhere in the world will step in and take the opportunity. That reality may sound harsh, but it is also liberating. It means you are not bound by your environment. You are bound only by your willingness to learn, to grow, and to put in the consistent work that leads to mastery. Every time you open your laptop, you are potentially competing with someone across the globe. But instead of seeing that as a threat, you should see it as an invitation to push yourself to realize that you are not limited by borders or backgrounds. You are part of a marketplace that rewards those who decide to prepare themselves with excellence. This is the same lesson that fueled the rise of Indian professionals, and it is the same principle that will fuel your rise if you commit to it. This is why some leaders view globalization with caution. They see how quickly others can rise when opportunities are shared across borders. They understand that the balance of power shifts when the digital economy allows talent from anywhere to flourish. But that does not change the truth. The truth is that opportunity belongs to those who prepare for it, and fear often belongs to those who fail to adapt. For you, the choice is clear. You can resist change and hope the world slows down, or you can embrace it, build your skills, and ride the wave of opportunity into a future that rewards your discipline and commitment. When someone expresses fear, it is almost always a sign that they recognize potential power. People do not fear the weak, nor do they fear the ones who are invisible in the marketplace. Fear arises when someone demonstrates such skill, such influence, or such ability that it begins to threaten the security of others. This is why warnings are issued. This is why conversations about competition grow louder, and this is why the rise of new talent is often seen as a threat. The truth is that fear is a mirror. It reflects the strength of those who are rising and the vulnerability of those who are unprepared. If leaders of nations and industries express concern over the growing role of certain groups in the global economy, it is not because those groups are weak. It is because they have become so capable that they are impossible to ignore. This is not just a story of one nationality or one sector of society. It is a universal principle. Whenever you elevate yourself to the point where your skills, discipline, and contributions are undeniable, you will trigger fear in others. That fear, however, is not your problem. It is their recognition of your strength. What you must understand is that fear directed at you is a badge of honor. It means your work has weight. It means you are no longer on the sidelines, no longer invisible, no longer dismissed. The fact that others notice you enough to worry about you is proof that your actions matter. It shows that your preparation and persistence have lifted you into a position of influence. Instead of shrinking from this recognition, you should lean into it. You should see it as evidence that you are moving in the right direction, that your daily effort is producing results large enough to command attention. History is filled with examples of individuals and groups who faced resistance the moment they rose to power. Every innovator, every disruptor, every game changer has been met with skepticism, criticism, or outright fear. Yet, without exception, it was precisely those people who pushed humanity forward. The message here is clear. If you want to create impact, expect resistance. If you want to build something significant, expect to stir emotions. If you want to leave a mark, expect others to feel unsettled by your progress. Far from being a sign to stop, this is the clearest sign that you must continue. But there is a deeper truth at play here. one that extends beyond competition and fear. At the core of every success story, whether in technology, business, or personal growth, lies a set of universal principles that apply to everyone: hard work, resilience, continuous learning, and daily discipline. These are not principles tied to any culture, country, or generation. They are timeless, unchanging, and available to anyone willing to embrace them. The rise of Indian professionals on the global stage is not only about geography. It is about these principles being applied with consistency and persistence until the results became impossible to ignore. Hard work is the first pillar. Nothing of lasting value has ever been achieved without it. People may look at successful leaders and assume luck played a part. But beneath the surface, there are always years of long nights, countless failures, and an unshakable commitment to improvement. Hard work is what builds confidence, what sharpens ability, and what separates the dreamers from the doers. If you want to be respected and recognized, you must accept that hard work is not optional, it is essential. The second pillar is resilience. Life will test you, setbacks will come, and obstacles will appear when you least expect them. What defines successful people is not that they avoid challenges, but that they overcome them. Resilience is the ability to stand up after every fall, to keep moving when circumstances push against you, and to maintain faith in your ability when the world tells you otherwise. Resilience is